And so the idea that somehow these trust banks could be excluded just because they're engaged in custody in crypto, it's not only a crazy idea, it's a dangerous idea.
So today, marami tayong pag-uusapan. Subukan natin na makita kung ano nga ba yung behavior ng market and what does it influence, including kung ano yung mga fads, manipulation, miners migrating, what are the talks behind the scene. So don't just listen to what they say, but actually what they're doing. You could see here more adoption in the market, but how come the price is still getting down and sideways? So how we could navigate this movement. And kahit na nasa losses tayo, kung meron man, we could utilize this and we could use that to gain more on this emerging market.
This is Healthy Minds giving you bites and pieces of crypto news.
But having said all that, I will just say on the merits of what the Fed is doing, it's pretty dangerous to say that the Fed can exclude from Fed payment services and other Fed membership benefits a bank that is chartered by the agency that is tasked with chartering banks. There has never been a national trust bank that was not accepted as a member of the Fed. And so the idea that somehow these trust banks could be excluded just because they're engaged in custody in crypto, it's not only a crazy idea, it's a dangerous idea at some level, because in a world of deplatforming, you don't want some politically appointed person saying which banks get access to the central bank and which banks don't get access to the central bank.
Former acting controller of the currency and current Binance US CEO Brian Brooks warned against a tightening regulatory climate in Washington that could be unfavorable to crypto upstarts. Anong ibig sabihin nito? Well, to make it short, the government and the Fed is being challenged now by the crypto community. As you can see, the former acting controller is actually giving this statement, making sure that we will have a fair access when it comes to this kind of resources, whether you are in crypto on in a traditional market, especially connecting to the Fed and the central banks. So napakagandang challenge nito sa market and what's really going on. So ang masasabi ko dito, don't just listen on what the institution, these big personalities saying, but try to dig in more on what they are actually doing. Same thing with the China FUD. As we all know, this crypto miners has been banned from using their resources or in China. So what happened is they spread out. So it could be a short-term bearish movement, but in long-term, makikita natin dito na truly miners are being scattered, and meaning the main purpose, the sole purpose of the decentralized is really being shared by the world. So currently, to give you an update, what's going on, we are on the 35,500 plus on Bitcoin. Ethereum is playing around 2,300 plus. And along with the Cardano 1.4, XRP at 0.69, Dogecoin is actually at 0.24. This has had a huge correction, but seems like it's starting to move up again. If we're gonna go to CoinMarketCap, we could see here for the last 24 hours, our volume is around almost 64 billion. But currently, since we went down to almost 1.1, 1.2 trillion market cap, we are now back to almost 1.5 trillion. So we can see here now the positivity in the market, although we are still running in the sideways, and seems like the FUD and the bearish movement are still here. Looks like the crypto community is really digging in and holding on this coin, especially with the institutions buying on the over the counter. So hindi natin makikita na ang exchange will actually fluctuate right away. And there are some analysts actually talking about that the crypto winter might be at hand already. So kailangan natin na maintindihan really what's going on the funda, not just on the technical. But speaking of the technical, of course, we would like to know what will be the movement of the market in short term para mas makapaghanda tayo, whether we are on the losses, whether we are in sideways, or truly, if we're gonna do with this short-term bearish, that I still believe that still haven't popped up that 65,000. For me, it's just a temporary all-time high. So let's start with the dollar index. Makita natin dito na it met this strong resistance around 92.7 points and went down by more than 0.6%. As we know, this market has an inverse correlation to Bitcoin. The more it went down, just like what happened in 2017, 2018. When this market is moving down, the crypto world is moving up. So makikita natin yung comparison na yan. So let me show this to you guys for you to have that visual thing that we're talking about. The orange line is Bitcoin, while the blue line is the dollar. Kita natin that when the time that the dollar index went down, that's the time also that we had this bullish movement. And same thing what's going on when that dollar is continues to move down. Bitcoin from 2020 to 2021. Now that Bitcoin is going down, dollar seems like it bounced back, but seems here also it's showing that we have a strong resistance on this area. So makikita natin for the next few days and few weeks what will be the reaction of the market. But as the US continuously printing trillions of dollars, well, we could expect the strength of the dollars against the other market will surely go down. We could anticipate that at magagamit natin tong tool na to on how we could really utilize and navigate the market. And in comparison to US stocks, makita natin na ang S&P 500 is still continuously creating all-time high day by day. What does it mean? What does it implies in the market? Na kung ang stock exchange ng US ay patuloy na tumataas, it means that the investors and the people were actually seeking for more gains. They're seeking for more speculation. And one thing na mag-benefit dito is, of course, ang crypto world. Seems like Bitcoin is starting to bounce again after this hard correction that we had. We went down to around $28,000 plus dollars in Bitstamp. But currently, seems like we are bouncing back. The bulls are actually still alive and showing their strength. But huwag tayong maging kumpiyansa because we are facing right now this strong resistance on this area. So currently, sinusubukan ng bulls na tibagin itong resistance area na to. So let's see if this will continue to hold on. At from here, we could actually check also if this will play as a support. But currently, there are still people, institutions perhaps are selling on this area. Speaking of that, let's try to observe this whale that shows that it seems like it has the number 3 now from the most Bitcoin holders, and it has now around 115,000 plus Bitcoin on his hand. And its value is around $4 billion. And for the past few days, as you can see, it's still accumulating on this amount since the time that it actually sold around 40,500. It continuously buying Bitcoin on this range, 32, 33,000, 33,000, 34,000. So as you can see, while the retails are selling, these institutions are actually buying. Of course, hindi natin makikita agad yan sa movement on exchange because they're probably using, or most of the time, they're using over-the-counter buying. Definitely, there are lots of things happening in the funda. So let's try to continue checking what would be the characteristic and what will be our expectation. Of course, we're going to talk about also some alts later on, but let's start first with Bitcoin since alam naman natin na kung anong movement ng Bitcoin, definitely all these alts eventually will be affected and will follow on the trend. At una kong gustong i-highlight sa bawat isa is in a bull market, if Bitcoin is actually moving up, although the odds will follow Bitcoin, but there will be a certain lag because the domination or the current funds are actually shifting to Bitcoin. But if the investors will have that confidence on Bitcoin and on the market, eventually they will transfer and be more speculative and will try to go on this altcoins. Isama natin din ang Ethereum, ang Cardano, and those other coins with higher market cap. And then if they really feel that the bulls are in, then that's the time that we could actually check in those meme coins, those smaller cap coins that will give us higher gains, but at the same time, higher risk. So from there, you have to identify anong klaseng trader ka, anong klaseng investor ka for you to really utilize this one and not just hear or check, ito yung trend ngayon, ito yung paniniwalaan ko, but definitely you should identify your own strength and weakness at paano mo malalaro to. So that no matter what happened, whether we go to winter or we still continue to make a new higher highs, wala kang ibang pupurihin at wala kang ibang sisisihin kundi yung sarili mo dahil you're the one who actually press that button and do your own diligence. So from there, sama-sama tayo and make sure that everyone is updated on the market. But for the meantime, what I'm actually showing here since 2017 from the peak, I tried to make a count kung ano na ba yung trend natin for us to see, can we actually play this in short term or in long term. Currently, on my count, since the 2018 December, we had that short bull run to 2019. And then on March of 2020, alam naman natin this, sabihin na natin Black Swan pandemic. No one actually expected that. So we had that deep dive, and that will be considered as my 1-2 on my LiQWYD. And this obvious run, this bull run that we experienced from that March 2020 crash up to 2021 April, and nag-register tayo ng almost around $65,000 plus as our all-time high. Since then, we had this correction. So if you're going to measure that, the total dive went up to 55% or more. But currently, we are around 44%, 4.7 kung i-compute natin kung ano yung naging correction niya for the past weeks and months. From here, still expecting that this ABC is still not completed and we might still have that chance para sa mga gusto pang humapol sa market. May pagkakataon pa ba sila? Well, although the chance is low that we could actually go down around 25,000 range, since this 28,000, 30,000 looks like a very strong support, there's still a possibility that we might get this downward action before finally we could have that spring to give us the momentum to push more farther fifth wave that I'm trying to see. Currently, this movement is still anticipated because there are lots of analysts expecting that this could be a longer sideways action or again have this one more drop before we bounce. But of course, from there, it might take time again before it could eventually test this higher highs or this previous highs and eventually create this target for the 2021. And somehow we are experiencing lots of FUDs. That's why makita natin sa even in YouTube community na sounds like more people are getting bearish. But sabi nga, if there's a blood on the streets, that's the time that you should buy and be more aggressive. But if everyone is actually have that euphoria that we're going to the moon, that's the time that you should take some profit. I really appreciate people who's seeing what we're doing here. on what we're sharing. So hopefully you guys will like this and share it as well for us to make our community more stronger. Let's try to go a bit lower in 4 hours. It seems like we already broke this downward movement, and it might try to test this previous resistance where Bitcoin actually was been rejected since then around 36,000. So if we could break this one, this 36,000 area, and then use this previous high as the support, that might actually give us the strength to move again on this level around 38,000, 39,000 for us to test this previous high. And let's see from there if we have the strength also to move more farther. But I don't expect that we could easily break this resistance. So this might actually cause us to move downward again before we try to break it. It seems like it's all aligning that this side reactions might really take some time before we could see again the bulls move. And from there, of course, yung possibility na we could have a more downward action on this range in a while is still on the table. But as I said, this level here seems like a very strong support. Let's try to check what's going on beyond what we could see on media and this traditional mainstream. You have to check other sources for you to really know what's going on in the market, and that's how you can avoid some manipulation. Let's continue to invest on ourselves and educate ourselves before we dig in. So speaking altcoins on Ethereum, Ethereum is actually showing a good strength and movement for the past days. It continues to break and make higher high. Although on this part, we had a pushback on this previous lower high from this move. So everyone thought that this will actually cause Ethereum again to move lower. But as you can see, even though we break the 4 hours higher low and created this new lower low, it's still on a daily. If you're going to check it, we are still on the uptrend. So it's still higher lows. And from here, let's see if this move of Ethereum will give us the strength to test again this area around 2,600. So from here, we are expecting some resistance. As you can see, there are lots of trades on this current area. So we might do this kind of move. Let's see if this will hold the 2,200 possible support. And if it holds, then I'm expecting to do a higher movement on this level around 2,600, 2,500 mark. Feel free to drop your comments and even your favorite altcoins, and let's see if we could add it on our TA para mas makita din natin yung possible movement. But of course, all this movement on altcoins will really depend on how Bitcoin will react. Right now, it's Sunday, and normally during Sunday and Saturday weekends, we could see Bitcoins continues to move downward, but somehow in this past few days, we are showing some strength. This could be a sign that the bulls still have the strength and we are getting smaller day by day. So I'm checking the other altcoins, Litecoin. Kung makikita natin, almost the same sila ng mga movement. It's just that Ethereum somehow is leading the bulls. It's showing more strength on Litecoin and around 145 to 150, even 148. So we could expect that this will be a strong resistance for Litecoin. And on the downward, temporarily we are expecting the 139 140 to hold as support, and if not, then the next possible support is around 130, 135 range. Let's go to Cardano. This is also one of the altcoins that's showing strength in parallel to Ethereum. In one day, you could see that since we registered this low, we never touched below that. So the previous support that we had, 1.001. If you will look on this lower low in Binance, was held at exactly $1, actually with 0.0001. Since then, we continue to register higher low, at the same time higher high. So this is a good movement for Cardano holders. But what are we expecting? You could see that there's a possible resistance on this area. So a possible movement, if this will be break, but looks like it's a strong resistance currently, we might actually target this area here, but in line also to this upward movement that Cardano registered for some weeks now. And that range is around 1.6, 1.5. So do you still have anything that you wish us to add on this technical analysis? Maybe next time we could also do some live TA, and let's see how we could help really the community on surviving and really know what's really going on in the market, not just pure speculation, but we will try to dig in what are the facts, given this institution, what they're doing in the market. Once again, this is Henry, and I'd like to thank everyone. Ciao.
A disclaimer that we are not a financial advisor, so always do your own diligence.